Did you cheat on your driver's test? What? You're thinking, what kind of question is that? Just bear with me a second and you'll understand where I'm going with this and how it turns right back into education. Always. When you go to the store, have you ever changed label so that you pay less for a product? Have you ever bought clothes and worn them once or maybe twice and then returned them? You've been robbed and the police ask you to write down all of your belongings that were stolen. Do you add things to the list? The cashier gives you too much change or doesn't charge you for an item. Do you say something? Do you go back to the store if you realize it once you've gone? If you see someone else doing any of these things, what are your first reactions? Good on you, or horrified emojis more likely going through your head? Now, these are really important questions because they reflect your core beliefs about interactions in society. And they could very well contrast with the society you've chosen to live in now, whether in a different state, a different country, a different family, essentially in a different community than the one that initially imprinted on you the societal norms that shaped you as a child. I think it's so important that we do a personal review of our cultural beliefs, especially if our desire is to be more compassionate and accepting global citizens. And I'm going to bring this right back to the classroom because whether we're aware of it or not, there is a culture in our classroom and we want it to be intentional rather than just by default, right? So for instance, in the classroom, your students are cheating on an exam. What's your first reaction when you realize it? What's the first reaction of the other teachers in your school? Is it all right for students to be verbally abusive to each other? What's your reaction when a student pushes against the norms of the classroom? Hard. If a classmate, for instance, touches another without her or his permission, or uses the material, or damages something they've done, what do you do? And what about that comes from your personal beliefs? And what comes from those of the school you're working in, or the society you're living in? The way we address these situations, and so many others, reflects the culture we perpetuate inside and outside of the classroom. But it's not always so straightforward because many of us have moved around the planet and every move means navigating different societal and every move means navigating different societal and cultural norms, whether we're conscious of it or not. And every time we move, we need to make decisions. Use the host culture as our guide or stick with our own personal beliefs, if that's different, inside and outside of the classroom. I'll give you an example. I'm North American and I live in Spain right now. Now, I come from a family of travelers and my sisters and brothers and I have lived many places far away from where we grew up. For me, Spain has interestingly been the most challenging place I've ever lived in. And one of the reasons is the difference in culture. The difference in culture I first found in the school and how much I've seen it permeates all over outside of the classroom as well. Let's just take honesty, for example. Now, there are small ways people here use honesty much more flexibly than how I've been brought up to understand it. For instance, if they don't want to go to dinner with someone, or they don't show up for an appointment, or they don't follow through with a promise they made, they don't just say the truth, they work really hard at making up an excuse that's absolutely not the truth. For instance, a friend doesn't want to go to dinner with someone else. Instead of just saying, listen, I'm really tired, thank you so much, but can we do this another time? She might say, well, listen, some relatives just called and they're on their way and I need to be in the house because I need to prepare for them. Someone else didn't come through the promise to pick up bread for lunch, for instance. Now, I just have to say that not picking up bread is more like a federal offense here, but anyway, let's just go with that for the moment. Instead of just saying, listen, I'm so sorry, I forgot, he might say, I'm so sorry, I was leaving home and my car wouldn't start, and it took me 3 hours to get it started, and then by the time I left home, the bakery was closed. I mean, that's a lot of complicated thinking that's completely unnecessary, at least in my opinion, but not in theirs. They are masters at this, and they don't see it as dishonesty. They see it as a way of preserving relationships. Interesting, right? Who wants to hear the truth? Give the situation a bit of color, and everybody's happy. Everybody involved knows that it's not the truth, but honesty for them is just too direct. We're a small population here, they're thinking, and we're going to see each other often. So forget the truth. Focus on long-term relationships. Make up a good excuse. And after more than 20 years of living here, I find New York honesty a bit jolting, to tell you the truth. But at the same time, I'm at the point now where I don't believe anybody. So how does this permeate into the classroom? So easily, and so pervasively. My first year teaching here, the first exam I gave, I found students cheating on the exam. I was horrified. I couldn't believe it. So as any American teacher would do, cheating is cheating. Cheating is wrong. When you cheat, you automatically fail. I told the students they'd failed the exam. What happened? The Spanish teachers heard what I'd done, and they were horrified. But not about the students, about my decision to fail them. They could not believe how cruel I was and how drastic a decision I'd taken. My confusion matched their horror. There are variables in how you treat cheating here. It's not so straightforward. To really show you the difference in my adopted country, I'm still not sure if I've adopted the culture, but I've been living here a long time. I used this very story in my Spanish exam a couple of years later. I told the two examiners what the students had done, what I had done, and what one of the students explained to me to defend himself. He said, and I quote, "Cheating is hereditary. My grandfather did it, my father did it, and they fully expect me to do it." The examiners were laughing until tears came down their face, and not because of what the boy said. They were 100% agreement and probably would have said something similar, but at my perplexed expression still about the whole event. By the way, I passed the exam. So the question is, how much of your learning environment is guided by the culture you grew up with, and how much is adopted from that of the society you're now living in? I have activities and online courses to explore multicultural perspectives and personal decisions because these are vital for a fluid and healthy learning environment. It is a fascinating and important reflection. And reflection, as I often say, is our superpower. We need to be intentional about our choices and believe in them, or at the very least be comfortable as possible about the choices we make that may not necessarily align with our core beliefs. So click on the link below and you'll find a plethora of activities and key online courses to help guide you through this and other fundamental educational structures. Click, 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 and I'll see you soon.